Welcome to my next Lost. Season 3 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important. If you aren't caught up to the point where I am every watching you're watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen Lost 3 other times. I'm just rewatching it to let it resonate. And keep in mind, this is one of my favorite shows of all time. Top 5 for sure. But I'm not the only one that's currently watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, otherwise known as Richard, is actually watching Lost for the first time. So, join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show. However, I don't want to see any spoilers past this episode in the comment section. So with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 3, Episode 18. The title of this episode is called D.O.C, which stands for Date of Conception. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. Sun is working in the garden when Jack approaches her, and he begins asking her about her pregnancy and eventually makes Sun suspicious, despite his claims that these are routine questions. And then we have our first flashback of the episode where Sun is walking through Seoul, South Korea, talking to Jin on her cell phone. They laugh about her getting used to being called Mrs. Kwan, and she tells him, "Love you madly," before ending the call. She sits on a bench next to an older woman, and after getting off the phone with Jin, the woman strikes up a conversation. She points out that Sun and Jin's wedding announcement in the newspaper, and then asks about Jin's family. Sun tells the woman Jin's parents are dead. The woman says she finds it odd that a member of the powerful family that Sun's a part of would marry the son of a fisherman, and then demands $100,000 or else she will reveal that Jin's mother was a prostitute. Back to the island, we have Naomi, who's the one that landed on the island, is found to have a wounded lung that was pierced by a branch. She moans occasionally, speaks in a number of foreign languages, and says in Italian and Spanish that she's dying. Desmond decides to go running back to get Jack and bring him to the woman to treat her. Charlie warns that it's going to be dark soon and it's dangerous to go alone. Desmond argues back that no one knows they are here. Charlie points out that it took them 8 hours to walk there. Desmond merely insists he will run. This course of action is stopped when Hurley accidentally fires a flare from the flare gun. Charlie thinks it's too dangerous for Desmond to travel through the jungle alone. Back to another flashback, Jin becomes defensive when Sun catches him in a discrepancy about the date of his father's death. Back on the island, Sun questions Kate about Jack's loyalties, and then Kate tells Sun that Juliet is a fertility doctor and wanted Claire's baby for research, after which Sun immediately confronts Juliet, demanding to know what happens to pregnant women on the island, and then she asks Juliet a barrage of questions. As Sun gets more and more upset, Juliet eventually tells her that all the pregnant women on the island died if the baby was conceived on the island. Mikhail comes running out of the jungle after a moment's pause after the flare gun, and Mikhail turns on his heel and runs away, but Jin chases and tackles Mikhail. It is then that Charlie realizes that Mikhail is the man that supposedly died at the sonar fence. The group returns to the injured woman Naomi, where Mikhail hears her speaking Italian. So Mikhail explains that he was a field medic for the Soviet army and offers to treat her in exchange for his release. And Desmond accepts Mikhail's offer. Back to our flashback, Sun secretly tracks down Mr. Kwan. He immediately guesses who Sun is, and they have tea together at Mr. Kwan's humble home, where there are pictures of a young Jin and certificates in Korea hung on the wall. He seems very pleased to meet his son's new wife, inquiring about the wedding and telling her she is beautiful. When she asks why he did not attend the wedding, he replies with a question of his own. What did Jin tell her? And Sun admits he told her that Mr. Kwan was dead, and he looks sad at this. Mr. Kwan confirms to Sun that Jin's mother went with many men, and that she abandoned Jin to his care. He raised the boy even though he was not sure what Jin was in fact. He wasn't sure that Jin was in fact his son, and then he asked Sun not to tell Jin that she visited him and not to indicate that Jin's mother is still alive to spare Jin the shame. Back to the island, we actually have Juliet creeping into Sun's tent, and with her hand over Sun's mouth to stop her from screaming, offers to help her. They start to go for a walk, and along the way, Juliet explains that if Sun conceived off the island, then she will probably be fine, like Claire. However, if Sun conceived on the island, then she will likely die. An ultrasound will be able to determine Sun's date of conception to within a few days. Sun says that Claire and Kate have told her about this place and that it has been cleared out and abandoned. Juliet tells her they didn't know where to look. Sun doesn't want to tell Juliet when the last time her and Jin had sex was. Back to our flashback, Sun goes to her father's office, interrupting him during a meeting with his associates. Sun asks her father for the money that she needs, but he is unwilling to give the money to her without knowing what it's for, and Sun tells her father that she knows what he really does for a living, and that she has always pretended otherwise, and that she will continue to do so if he gives her the money she needs. Her father still doesn't give in, so Sun eventually admits that she needs the money to spare embarrassment to someone she loves. Sensing that this someone is Jin, Mr. Pike, or Mr. Pak, it's either Pak or Pike, I can't remember how it's pronounced, gives her the money, but warns her that since the money is for Jin, the debt will be on Jin's head, and he will now work directly for him. And that's why he did the things that he did for her father. After a moment of hesitation, Sun takes the money and leaves without another word. Back to the island, eventually Mikhail treats the wound, dramatically venting the lung of accumulating blood, then removing the branch. He tells them it should heal in a day. Charlie remarks that it was a pierced lung, an injury not likely to heal soon. Mikhail smirks and explains that the island heals in a different way, though concedes that it might take a day and a half. Then Naomi murmurs something in Portuguese, which Mikhail tells them, "Thank you for helping me." Sure. Juliet and Sun have arrived at their destination, where Sun looks around uneasy as Juliet switches on the lights. Sun then asks Juliet why she is helping her, and Juliet explains that she used to give women the news that they were pregnant, and it was the best news they had ever received. However, on the island, she has lost 9 patients in 3 years, and she wants to be able to give good news again. Sun tells Juliet she slept with another man before she got to the island. Juliet leads Sun to a secret chamber hidden behind the station's locker room, which contains some stashed medical equipment and nursery furniture. Sun asks why this room is hidden, and Juliet eventually admits that it was where they brought the pregnant others to die. After Naomi is treated, Mikhail leaves. Charlie is reluctant to allow him to, but Desmond insists, reminding Charlie that they promised. As Mikhail leaves, Jin realizes that the satellite phone is missing, so Jin recaptures Mikhail and takes the phone back from him. Mikhail sarcastically comments that they would not respect him if he didn't at least try to steal the phone. Regardless, in the end, Desmond keeps his word and allows Mikhail to leave. Sun tells Juliet that the baby could not be Jin's as he is infertile. Juliet says that normally men have an average of 60 to 80 million sperm. On the island, they generally have 5 times that amount, which they call good odds. Back to our flashback, Jin accidentally discovers the money. Thinking quickly, Sun tells him that she had gotten it from her father to buy furniture and a honeymoon. Jin asks her to return it, saying that he can provide for them and does not want to be in Mr. Pak's debt. Sun uneasily agrees, telling Jin she loves him. Back to the island, Juliet gives Sun an ultrasound, telling her that they crashed on the island 86 days ago, and the baby was conceived about 53 days ago. Sun begins to cry. Juliet tells her she is so sorry and will do everything she can to help her, but Sun expresses happiness that the baby is Jin's and thanks Juliet. Back to our flashback, Sun meets with the blackmailer, and as she hands over the money, asks her why she did not say that she was Jin's mother. The older woman remarks that she may have given birth to him, but that does not make her his mother. Sun hesitates before letting go of the money, and after reminding the older woman of the remark made at their earlier meeting regarding how powerful Sun's family is, tells her, "My husband thinks his mother is dead. Don't make me have to make that a reality." Sun walks away with her head held high. Back to the island, Sun has about 2 months left, according to Juliet, and then Juliet makes an excuse and returns briefly to the locker room, where she leaves a message for Ben on a tape recorder. She informs him about Sun's condition and then says that she is moving ahead on collecting samples from the other women among the survivors, including Kate Austin. After stopping the tape recorder, she pauses for a moment and then adds, presumably to Ben, "I hate you." Also, while the others make a stretcher, Hurley sits with Naomi, attempting to call his mother on the phone. Naomi wakes and impatiently asks where she is. Hurley explains that they are survivors of Flight 815 that crash landed on an island. The woman is shocked to hear the news and says that is impossible for them to be survivors of Flight 815. She explains that they found the plane and that there were no survivors. They were all dead, which ends this episode of Lost. So a pretty good episode, although it was a little draggy at times. I'll score the episode an 8.1 out of 10. My main character of the episode is Sun. Obviously, it's her episode. And then my secondary character is going to be Juliet. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please don't forget to Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section and let me know what your score of this episode was, as well as your character or characters of the episode. Remember, you'll be interacting with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who goes by the name Richard. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.